Welcome to Bound to Shift, the inspiring book chat in conjunction with the Shift Sisters podcast. Here, we explore transformative stories and powerful books designed to support you through life's inevitable shifts. Whether you're navigating change, seeking growth, or looking for fresh perspectives, our curated selections are crafted to inspire development and ignite your inner strength. Join us as we dive into heartfelt conversations, meaningful insights, and practical tools to help you embrace change with courage and confidence. Because when you are bound to shift, every chapter becomes an opportunity for renewal and transformation. Let's embark on this empowering journey together. Greetings and salutations, and welcome, Shifties, to another episode of our Bound to Shift book chat with our 13 original clan mothers, or our favorite book of the year. And there we are. And I am always joined by my deep soul friend, Jennifer Richter. How are you doing today, Miss Jen?
I am good. This book really, man, just, it's like an egg. You have to crack it to use it. And I feel like you have to crack this book. You have to crack
Yes.
your heart. You have to crack your mind, your emotions, everything to be able to use them in ways that you didn't even know were possible.
Yes, yes. And in this world of cracking, we have a clan mother, a moon mother by the name of She Who Heals. So in those
Mm-hmm.
cracks, we can find those healing spots. Um, Always bring back to my kintsugi like work of
Mm-hmm.
putting the gold in those cracks and really helping that healing to look like a beautiful piece of art, right? Healing
Mm-hmm.
can be that sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
so this is our August moon, our eighth moon cycle. And when we think of August, I think of your little girl's birthday, and I think of my husband's birthday too. That Leo energy, girl.
Well, yeah, he's got the Leo energy, right? And she's got the Virgo.
She,
When's the cutoff date?
I think it's like 21, 20,
Because what day is his?
the 20th, and he's a Leo.
Oh, see, I thought he was the 23rd. That's just the day you're having the party.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So she's the 31st. So she's a Virgo. And
Oh,
she's a double Virgo, rising sign and ascending sign, which is a whole deep dive topic that most people wouldn't understand. But yeah,
oh, wow.
yeah. So, but they're both the personality of our life, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it. And so August 3rd is my grandmother's birthday. And it's so funny because
Mm-hmm.
she's a Leo too, or she was a Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the quiet lioness, right? She didn't, she was an observer. She didn't make a lot of fuss, but she took care of everything. And she was really this matriarch that I just adored. Adored. She
I
was the,
have to ask you a question about
yeah.
her. I have Marcella, Marietta, Marcia, and Maria. Are any of those in relation to anything you know around your grandmother?
No, her name was Esther. So, and
Mm-hmm.
really her real name was Estefania, but for, I don't know, Puerto Rico back then, you just change names and her name became Esther.
And
But
she
no,
doesn't have anybody around her like a sister, an aunt, a daughter, a niece, or anybody with any of those names. You can sit with it and tell me
yeah,
later or talk to your mom, but
yeah, yeah,
I don't
for
know.
sure. I have to get those names from you again, but yes,
Yeah.
when you have those downloads, I'd love to see if there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So we are going into the eighth moon cycle. She Who Heals is the clan mother. And as always, we'd like to explore the color around our clan mother. We are
Mm-hmm.
both donning our blues because blue is the color of the month. So let's talk about the significance of blue and what it could mean across cultures and just spiritually. So
Mm-hmm.
number one, it evokes calm and serenity. So blue is associated with peace, tranquility, and relaxation. It evokes the soothing qualities of the sky and the sea, and it encourages a sense of calm and mental clarity. How do you feel when you wear blue? Do you feel that kind of serenity when you wear blue?
I definitely feel very calm, but put together,
Got
right? Like that organized feeling. And when you're organized in life, you feel that you have the capability of doing whatever it is that you're seeking. And so, yeah, I feel calm and put together when I have blue.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like I have that boss energy when I wear blue. Like I just feel like
Mm.
it's such a commanding color for me. It's like when I have the red lipstick or something that's this like shade of blue, I always feel that way. And when I wear black, I feel very put together. I feel like
Mm.
I'm ready to stand a little taller. So
I
it's
do love a blue suit on my man, though. I'm like,
yes.
oh,
What is it about that?
I
I
like the
agree.
blue suit, not the black suit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with that for sure, for sure. It's funny. We get custom suits made for Michael because we can't really get off the rack for him, and it's always like I'm like, oh, where's that blue?
Mm-hmm.
Anything that has the blue in it. So I totally agree with that.
Yep.
Blue also evokes communication and truth. So, in many traditions, blue represents honesty, clarity, openness, particularly related to the throat chakra. So, which governs expression and truthful conversation. So,
Okay.
if you feel like you need to have those conversations, and especially harder ones, wear that color blue.
Mm. I'm gonna have to try that. That's an interesting one.
Yes. Spiritual connection. So, blue symbolizes higher consciousness, divine wisdom, and spiritual depth. And it invites us to connect with our inner self, so our inner core, and listen to our divine guidance. So, when you need that time and you're just kind of all over the place, I feel like that's going to help you bring it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, protection. In some cultures, blue is seen as a protective color, believed to ward off negative energies and keep off evil or harm. So, we have like the evil eye symbol. Usually the eye is like a blue eye.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that a lot. So, and I have a few of those around. So, I think blue is a good color of protection as well. So, all right. So we're going to dive, before we dive into the questions of the chapter, we always love to start with our poem. And Jen, yeah, if you can get started and read us that poem.
Again, I recommend read the poem before you read the chapter and read it again after you've read the chapter.
Love that.
She who heals. Mothers sing me a song that will ease my pain. Mend broken bones, bring wholeness again. Catch my babies when they are born. Sing my death song, teach me how to mourn. Show me the medicine of the healing herbs, the value of spirit, the way I can serve. Mother, heal my heart so that I can see the gifts of yours that can give life through me. Or that can live through me, sorry. But give life through me could make something
Sure.
sense too. So,
Wonderful. Yeah, the poem, I 100% agree with you because it just brings, it almost like it brings it all together and it just feels
mhm.
like the wonderful, just, I forget what it's called, like after a story and you read like a little part of it, but it just brings it all together for me. So,
Well, it's like, hearing your favorite song and then getting to interview the writer to find out the story behind the song and
yes,
find out that story wasn't written about a boyfriend, that was about their child, or it wasn't about a breakup. It was about, you know what I mean? You get to really feel the emotion and understand the story behind the song that was your favorite for so long, right?
I love that.
And it's what it is like to me when you read that poem and the end.
Yeah, I love that because I've done that also in my life where I'm just like, where did this song come from? Why?
Mhm.
And to have that extra insight really just makes it just juicier, the
Mhm.
song and things. So let's get into some discussion questions. She who heals is the guardian of healing plants and roots. And girl, if no other clan mother spoke to me, in the Jennifer like way, it was this one. I said, "Oh my gosh, this is Jennifer's mother, her moon mother. Is she who heals?" So
Mm.
I got very excited when I read that, and I'm sure you have a lot to say about this topic. But healing through Earth's gifts. So talk to me about that. How does healing happen within nature's pharmacy, or when you think about nature's pharmacy? What are some of those supports that we can use?
Well, I mean, there's a lot, so I couldn't specifically list all the supports, but for example, nature and I are in deep conversation. And even though I don't like to leave my property much or to go out into civilization because of, a number of reasons, nature continues to stay with me and communicate with me in all places, even in my discomfort.
Mhm.
And for example, I was having an experience, a service that I purchased that was, um, you know, it ended up being uncomfortable because of another person's choices. And I really just needed to clear my head to think about how I wanted to process the experience that I just went through.
Yeah.
And, I think in the past, I might have just been like a top exploding verbally and, like, I don't know, just maybe spinning out and not really sitting with it. And I was in a place that was like an hour away from my house. It wasn't an area that I knew at all. And all I knew is I just needed to go walk and be in whatever nature was around. It wasn't a park, it was a busy road. There's businesses everywhere, but I just needed to go walk. And I just feel so grateful because nature did give me my healing medicine I needed on that walk in this town that I knew no one in no location. And I came across, it makes me think right now, I needed to look up the spiritual meaning behind it, and I didn't. But anyways, on this walk, I came across this abandoned property that was for sale or whatnot. And it was in the middle of this super busy place. And what stood out to me were the leaves on this tree as I walked by. And I knew it was elderberry. And I looked a little closer. There were these spectacular, oh, I should have brought the plate in here to show you, the spectacular full bloom blossoms of bundles of elderberry everywhere. Not just one tree, but when it caught my attention and it reeled me in and I looked, like everything else just drowned it away. And I was in awe of this beauty in the middle of the chaos that's fruiting and blossoming and reproducing to give. And I was like, I can't believe this. And I took off a bunch of the elderberry and I'm like, I'm going to harvest this, right? Well, then I look and there's more and there's more. So I rip off my shirt
True Jennifer style, yes. Uh-huh.
because I needed a bag and I didn't have
Sure.
one. And I had like a sports bra thing underneath it that was pretty
Yeah.
long so nobody would know. And I'm, bunching up in the shirt all of these elderberries. And I'm just so captivated that before I know it, I'm like deep into this property of I don't know whose. And I am hearing all the things I need to hear, right? I'm hearing through the elderberries. I'm hearing through the mandarin oranges that I'm finding and the Mexican petunias and all of the things and the life on this property that seems unwanted and abandoned. And I hear the healing things that I need to heal for that experience that I was walking out. And I got a lot of wisdom from it, and nature found me even in the chaos. And your medicine from nature can be everywhere. Random elderberries, it could be a wildflower that is blooming on the side of the road on your road trip that seems to be following you or guiding your path.
Hmm.
It's everywhere. There's medicine in nature everywhere.
Wow. I'm wondering if that property just like called you and that elderberry just said, come, this is what you, because to just be in that space at that time during that circumstance is
Hmm.
just, it's no coincidence. So,
I wish, oh my gosh, I should have brought it. But okay, so here's my notebook. Okay.
mhm.
Imagine this times two, right? Okay, we'll do it like this times two. I have a tray that is that big, that is full, like 2 inches thick, of all the elderberry that I collected. And it just, to me, spoke of the abundance of healing that, you know, I
And it's,
have.
yes, and it's a healing property, elderberry. People have,
Hmm.
drink tonics of it and all of that. So,
Yeah, it's super immune boosting to strengthen you. And I heard that you will be strengthened. So,
whew, girl.
hmm.
Um, Growing up, my family used their garden and just plants as medicine for day-to-day things. I
Hmm.
remember that distinctly, where I would have an earache and they would take a certain leaf and mash it up
Hmm.
and put the extract in my ear.
Ooh,
I
in it. Hmm.
yes, I remember when I twisted my ankle and we took a mixture of potato shavings and
Hmm.
alcohol, and it was this like tincture, and you just put it on your space, place where you were hurt,
Yep.
and that would help. And I remember as a kid saying, "This is some bootleg. This is just some what is there? Can we just go to the pharmacy and get Advil?"
Hmm.
And I crave that now, right?
Yeah, it's like wrapping a potato. You cut the potato open and you put it on like a splinter or something that you want to pull out of your skin, or
Yes,
mullein leaves inside your shoe, and it takes away the inflammation and pain in your joints. Like the Tulsi tea, right? That I talk about all the time, and how it calms my nervous system.
yes.
Like, this is Mother Nature. You have everything you need within you and provided for you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And now that I'm in this like journey of looking at natural ways to heal, I'm saying to myself, I wish I would have written these down. We also used herbs and leaves for spiritual baths. So it's not
Oh,
just
yes.
for, physical healing, it was for emotional and spiritual healing too.
Hmm.
So we would, gather these up and essentially make a bath tea to soak in
Yep.
to help us with, what was ailing us. And
Hmm.
I loved that about the culture and how we were exposed to that early on. And now I am looking at, okay, what are some of those natural herbs or leaves or things that I'm eating to really help support what I'm looking for. And I'm drinking, I was telling you earlier, I'm drinking my pomegranate juice to help with just blood flow. And I love that I feel like I'm going back to source again. I'm going back to what I saw from my elders and the importance of all of those things. And now I'm saying I need to collect those recipes and talk to my mom and say, okay, what do you remember? What else, what else did you use? What else did you use? So yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, is definitely absorbed through experience.
Yeah.
So, you can definitely make a Pinterest board and you can write a ton of things down. But I highly recommend, even if people want to learn how to connect through natural medicine in that way, look up your like extension groups or your master gardener groups in your area.
Hmm.
And these master gardeners know so much and they want to impart their wisdom. And you can go and spend time with them and learn about nature, right? But then when you are in it, even if it's on a balcony of an apartment, and you learn about the process, you also learn about the process of your own growth and your own healing in these things, right? And how do you heal a physical exposed wound of a plant, right? And how do you, deal with your exposed wounds of your heart? Like, there's so many synchronicities.
I love it. Um, there's a song by a famous salsa singer, Celia Cruz, a Cuban salsa singer, and it's a song of her giving recipes, right?
Mm.
Take this particular route if you have a sore throat, or if you're looking for like a husband or something else, you do this. And I have it in my playlist, and the other day I'm like, she's giving us the recipe, and I'm like sitting there reading. I'm like, Ma, what does that mean? Because it's in Spanish. What particular route is that? And she's like, oh yeah, that's blah blah blah. So um it's also just it makes me feel more connected to my
That's
roots as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You have to send me that, or I'll,
Yes, yes,
look
yes.
at the recording and write it down later. But that may is what made me think of, like, I need to look up the spiritual connection of elderberry. Right? What's the
Yes.
spiritual message of an elderberry? And I wonder, through her song, if she's
Oh,
also connecting the spiritual essence of the root that she's talking about for an ailment and how all that works.
it's
So,
awesome, awesome, awesome. So yeah, so I wanted to just take a moment to I just acknowledge the importance of the supports that you and I and everyone who's listening to us have on this earth. It's not just, let's not go to CVS at first, right? Let's think about, what are some ways to help support ourselves during those times of not only physical ailments but also emotional ones as well.
yeah.
So she who heals values the importance of cycles, so life cycle and just cycles of what happens throughout our time. And she also teaches us to drop the fear of death. Death is not a four-letter word, and she wants us to live beyond the illusion of the finality of death, and to celebrate, each turn, and how that's kind of completing the cycle, right? And the cycle also starts again. So, how does this challenge our present day conventional thinking about death? Because I think, obviously, when we think about it, people fear it. People say that
Hmm.
there's, nothing beyond it. And there's a tendency to not want to talk about it. And what's interesting is, there are folks that also challenge that notion, and they do things like celebrations of life as opposed to a wake,
Hmm.
where they celebrate the person, and they have something that's a little more joyous, and sharing stories and things like that. Have you ever seen the funerals or wakes of people who are in, I guess it's embalmed,
Yes.
but they're like standing up, or they're sitting. Oh, girl, I have to.
Oh, you mean like, because I think it's like Filipino culture.
Girl,
They actually, they're one of them that wants to keep the body preserved in what they would look like in their living life, and they don't bury them. They keep them out in the house and preserved and different things like that.
I haven't heard of that, but
I watched a thing on it because I grew up in a funeral home essentially. So my uncle was an undertaker, and so we used to like play in the caskets and around all the dead people and stuff like it. So death doesn't bother me, but I have seen a lot of embalmed people, but no one's standing
no,
up in
no,
real
no, no. You
life.
have to look this. Or I'm going to send you some things where, so it's like they have, let's say it's a party. So you
Hmm.
walk into this like room, and in the front of the room, there is the person. The person can be sitting, or they could be like standing,
No,
and it looks like they're a participant. Sometimes they have
that's
like,
weird.
girl, they have sunglasses on. I can tell you, I've seen so many of these, and they're like, it's like,
You mean
okay,
like Weekend at Bernie's?
yeah. I don't mean it like, yes, but and it's like, oh, and they're there with their jeans and their top, their top, or how they would dress, so it's not this like formal thing. So that was very interesting. I've seen a few of those. Um, in
Wow.
the Victorian age, they had something called the Victorian death photos. So if someone passed away, um, they would have a family photo with the cadaver, but it was propped up, and they have these different things, and made to seem like they were alive. So you'll see photos of like twins, one was dead, one was alive. And obviously this was back in the Victorian age, so it wasn't like now where you can really like so you could tell which one was the deceased, and they would do this as part of like preserving their memory. Really,
Oh
really
Lord.
interesting. But there's different ways that people,
I'm like, how are you going to preserve my memory?
well, you got to tell people, right? Like you got to let people know how you want that done, girl.
I guess. I mean, I think I'll just record my laugh and everybody can make it a ringtone in their phone
There you
because
go. There you go. Or I have you standing up or sitting up, and then we'll have like a box behind you and just click it. And people
oh
pass
my God.
by. Imagine.
Oh my God. What if it was my funeral and then, like, in the middle of the funeral, like, someone just played that in the back and then they would be like, what the?
I'm telling you, there's a lot of different ways, and you can be the driver of that, right? You can make
Oh,
so so yeah. So this is an interesting topic because I think a lot of people don't want to talk about it, right? They don't
well,
want to talk about.
I was looking up this book that you're talking about death, right? And how people fear it. And there's this book that came across yesterday, and I want to get it. And I know it's going to be amazing already, but it's called Don't Wait Till You're Dead.
Mm, mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
um, and
Yes.
it's written by an amazing medium, but anyways.
The other thing is I've seen like workbooks where you can like lay everything out, right? Where it's like how you I know like there's certain things where you can have in a will and say this is, or like your directives and things, but
Yeah.
it's a little more in depth of how do you want to be remembered and all the different things, and if you want to party, if you want all this. And I thought, well,
Yes.
what an interesting conversation. And of course, all the scenarios, right? So, if you're really ill and, all of those things. So I think it's an interesting topic to kind of bring up and discuss.
You know, I personally, I don't know if everybody would be comfortable with it, but for those that have a shift circle developed at this point, where, the shift circles are where it's no more than 6 people, including yourself, and, you do this deep reflective work on different things. That's something I would personally do with my shift circle, is that we would have this memorial vision board, vision book, right, per your design, and say, let's talk about it together, just like we would plan a wedding together
Yeah.
or a party. Let's plan and help review things together as we make our, you know, what do you call it, like a sunset book, because your sun is setting,
Yes.
and talk about the things that how you want to be memorialized or celebrated. And it would be interesting because then it's built in community,
Yes.
and maybe they think and see things about you that are to be honored, that maybe you don't realize is super special about yourself. And so it could be an interesting shift circle activity.
And I think that we underestimate how, I'm trying to formulate the words,
Hmm.
um, how much pressure is relieved from those that are still here.
Oh, yes.
Because I cannot tell you that, at a time of grief and loss, I have no energy at all, creatively or organizationally, to put anything together.
Yep.
So thinking about, um, okay, the wake, the funeral, the arrangements, the blah 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 blah, and then also in our culture, we do a 9 day like rosary ceremony after
Mm.
the first 9 days of their death. So, oh my gosh, putting that together and and you're in the throes of grief. It's so much. I would rather have a book and say, "Hey, can you come here and do this? Can I just show up? Because that's exactly what I want to do, is just show up." So,
Well, I had started a long time ago, and I'll stop because I know I can go down a tangent on all this stuff. But I did start a book that was In Case I Die. It
yes,
was called a In Case I Die book, but it was more so for everything that I manage in life for our family that no one else would necessarily know.
yeah,
And so, like, if someone had to step in and pick up taking care of our children or running our house or whatever the case it may be that, you know, they don't have to figure it all out from scratch, but I've never thought about me in that aspect. It was more about how can I relieve others just in learning how to like pick up where I left off, but not how to honor me or what would be important. So I'm looking at this now in a more well-rounded perspective.
Yeah, it's very interesting because there's all the different sides to it. It's yourself,
Hmm.
it's others, it's so all of that. And I think, I love that when I die, that handbook of
Hmm.
sorts, right? I think um that's also really important. I think there needs to just be more conversation around it other
Oh
than just
yeah. I talk about all the things that are uncomfortable, death and intimacy and money or whatever. I can talk about all of it.
awesome, awesome. All right. So during her work, She Who Heals recalls her time helping those who were grieving. She says that allowing them to sing their songs and to wail truly helped them heal. So, how do you feel that, or what she shared, or other physical acts, help through the grieving process? And I had shared this in our last
Hmm.
chat with chapter 6, and I'm sorry, sorry,
7.
Grandmother 7, and thinking about how that physical act
Yes.
had really just, it was almost like
Bellow.
a vomit, even though I was screaming and wailing when my brother-in-law called me to tell me when my sister had passed, because I
Mm.
went to see her the night before. So I saw her on Friday and visited her and talked to her, and she wasn't conscious or anything, and she was making all these like faces with her face and grimaces and things, and her eyes were closed. And I was talking to her, and music were playing on the background. I had that moment with her, and I went home, went to sleep, and then that next morning, my brother-in-law called me. I let out a guttural, and I don't do, I'm in control of me. I
Hmm.
was not in control of that,
Yeah.
and boy, that was just what it felt so true. It felt like I've denied myself those opportunities. Like, when my father passed, when my grandmother passed, when, I had other, losses in my life, I never allowed myself to have those true to my animalistic nature of release.
Yeah.
So that truly hit me when I read that piece about that. How about you?
I just felt like it really speaks to allowing a safe space for people to express their emotions, right? Like, you don't necessarily have to be involved in it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to entangle yourself in it. You don't have to get caught up in the drama of it. But you do need to allow people the space to process those emotions, grieving or whatever the emotion is, regardless if it's just time away or it's time with them silently. You have to respect the process. You do.
Yeah.
It's so essential for the part of our growth and our learning opportunity and our healing. You have to let them come to the surface.
Hmm. And the fact that it's vocalization, so she said singing and wailing.
Mhm.
And when she was in the story, she's helping someone give birth, and outside of the cave was the folks that were,
Wailing.
they were wailing, and they were grieving the loss of their family members due to
Mhm.
the period of starvation that was happening in
Yeah.
the area. And when I was a kid and I used to see people do that, I always thought it was dramatic.
Mm.
I'm like, and that judgment would come in, and I'm saying to myself, they are the most healed and probably the healthiest, because they are truly allowing, they are present with their,
Mm.
they are they are not masking it because they have visitors coming in. They're not masking it because they don't want to make a scene. They
Yep.
are, and now, in my age and in my experience, I say to myself, boy, what a gift that they gave themselves to be able to just be in that place of mourning and wailing and whatever you physically need to do. I remember seeing someone like taking off, her jacket and rolling on the floor and doing all these things, and I'm like, gosh, if I'm in that much pain, I might need to do that. I might need to do, something like that. Have you ever go ahead.
I was going to say, did you notice though as well? No one was running out of the cave to say, hey, can you guys shut it up? Can you
Mhm,
guys take it somewhere else? You guys are being rude and interruptive and disrespectful right now. You guys really need to go bottle that up.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
One place was mourning life, and one place was trying to bring life.
Isn't that an
Yeah.
interesting
That
juxtaposition?
bittersweet, right? Like Jen
Yes.
Cormier was talking about bittersweet.
Have you ever seen the movie Steel Magnolias from the 80s?
It's so
Girl.
funny that you say that because I kept saying, you know what? I want to do a girls' weekend with Sandra and I want to watch movies like that, like Fried Green Tomatoes and Steel Magnolias. And we're going to get boxes of
Uh,
tissues and we're going to watch it and we're going to feel all the feels and we're going to, all of the things.
I need a weekend like that now, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because that movie always, I just, and it's the scene where Sally Field is in the cemetery and she's wailing, why? And then she's, screaming and crying and they're saying, let it out. And which was beautiful. That was her
Mm-hmm.
shift circle.
Yeah.
And then she gets angry and she says, I want to hit someone. And she gets super angry and they put up Weezer, the crotchety old lady, right? They're like, hit something. You want to hit something? Hit her.
Yeah.
And it's funny and I love that scene, but wow,
Yeah.
what that shift circle did for her. So,
That's the definition of the shift circle that everybody should try to form.
yes, to
Mm-hmm.
say, you know, you need to hit something, let's do
I'm
it.
here.
You
Mm-hmm.
scream and let's do it. And um uh I think for me, I also not I'm wondering how I would feel if someone else was wailing with me. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe that would have also helped me too, through that process, because
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing me make the noise
Mm-hmm.
and feeling so, girl, I can't explain what it was. It's like I didn't recognize it at all. Like I didn't recognize the sound. I didn't recognize, like it almost came from outside of me and I couldn't feel the effort. Like it just, like I didn't make any effort to make it happen. It just went like, if when you throw up without um
Yes.
like you don't do anything, you're just sitting there and blah, it's all there. That's how it felt. Like my body
Yes.
needed to get it out, and I was incredibly, like I was depleted. That was it. I was
Mm-hmm.
depleted after that. So yeah, so thinking about, all those things that you can do to help you with that, and giving yourself like permission, giving yourself the permission, because boy, it is the that was healing for me, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine if I swallowed that, what it would have meant for my body.
Mm. It would show up in a physical way.
100%.
It always does. The body speaks the mind. If you do not process stuff, it will show up in another way.
Absolutely. So in this chapter, she who heals takes away many lessons from the earth in regards to healing. So Snake had taught her a particular lesson of taking that negativity and transmuting it into the idea of the shedding of the old skin.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can be more like Snake and practice transmutation of negative into positive, um, what does that look like for you when you think about that, and that act of physically shedding that skin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to shed a lot. And I feel like 2003 really made me feel like I was outgrowing my skin, and also to do with not maybe fully processing everything the way I needed to, that was more genuine to myself.
Mhm.
And I spent 2024 of shedding all the extras around me, things that were not healing and serving me. Not that I permanently got rid of everything, but I needed to take a break from all of these things to find out, what do I want to keep? What do I want to shed? And I have to come out on the other side, and that was what my experience was with shedding,
Yeah. Yeah,
in a sense.
for sure. And it's also, um, I love that you took that time, because I think people tend to get caught up in like the negative piece of it, of, oh, this circumstance is just heavy and doesn't serve me, or I'm unhappy with something in myself. But instead of going in that space, you took the time for reflection and
Yeah.
inventory of your life. And then it's like, okay, I'm ready to act. And this act is going to be
Mhm.
the slow shed. And that is a thoughtful process. It's not this like, woe is me, I have all this shit around me, right? I'm just going to take this and turn it into an opportunity for growth, healing, and shedding.
And it is, and I had to learn, my purpose for doing so was I needed to learn what was coming from me, what was caused by me, what was a reflection of me. And I had to do it without the noise, because if someone else is around, it's really easy to blame them for anything, right? Like if you live with somebody, you're going to see their mess on the floor before you see yours that's right next to it.
Mhm.
And I knew I needed to learn where the source of a lot of things were coming from, the growth, the resistance, the anger, the joy. I needed to know. And so, yeah, that's what I was looking to learn in that period.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to, you know, as I said, it's the whole piece of reflection and also forgiving, right? Like
Mm,
I, during that time of grief, and it was during the pandemic, so I was grieving as a
mm,
whole, as a collective, we were grieving a lot. And then it was also this personal piece for me. And I tell you, I grew exponentially during that time, because I didn't rush the process, because I was reflective. And then I took, um, the gifts that I have, as a writer, and used that as a vehicle to help
mhm.
me transmute some of these feelings of loss and heavy, and all the things that were happening during that time. So I tell you, I have been changed by slowing down and taking, the negative. And I hate using the word negative around grief, because I don't think it's a
It's really
feeling.
just the experience,
Right.
really, not a negative or a positive. It's, let's take this experience and see.
Yes, and make it into something that is, open and exploratory, and something that I can communicate with. And
Mhm,
so it was just, I love the lesson of the snake, and how,
mhm.
and people tend to think of snakes in also a negative way, but it's,
Sure.
what a wonderful lesson for all of us on transmuting some of those experiences into something positive.
Mhm,
So she who heals in this story was, helping a mother who was on the brink of death, essentially give birth. And I cannot even imagine the strain of someone who is starving, literally starving, having to pull up every ounce and morsel of energy to give birth to this child. And there were times that she wanted to give up. There were
mhm.
times that she was just, physically like done, and the spirit was kind of leaving her eyes.
Yeah.
And the baby Zorenda was watching down on her.
Mhm,
And, the baby was ready to come, and the baby was ready to connect with its physical body to
mhm,
enter into this world. And, so the baby saved the mother's life, right? The
mhm.
baby said, I'm here. I am coming here to teach you things, and I'm here for a reason. And as the mother will teach the baby things, of course.
Absolutely.
So we tend to think of babies as these little, orbs of flesh and joy, right? And they're something to be taken care of. They're something to be, handled. But in this story, it talks about how the baby was ready to teach mom some lessons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about being a mother, Jennifer, and thinking about your experiences with your children, what have they taught you in terms of that transition of being a mother?
Well, being a mother is not just being a manager or a dictator or a guide or a mentor. It's being in relationship with another person.
Mm,
And I don't want to say necessarily that I look at my children as I look at other people, but I see it as a give and take relationship. There's learning opportunities in everything.
mm,
And as you'll hear through our podcast, there's even a ton of just wisdom nuggets that my children have inspired through me, through maybe a misspeak or a spiritual download from them, like what matters or boundaries, not barriers, and different things like that. But with my oldest son, who is an absolutely free spirit, he has taught me that that connection looks different for everybody.
mm,
And it's an interesting thing because we put so much pressure on ourselves to feel like a relationship should look a certain way. But because ours didn't always fit the mold, it really caused me to go in and reflect more and read some different books to explore ways that our relationship could be great and different, because your relationship with all of your children are always going to be different.
sure.
They interact with you differently. They respond differently. They evoke different, responses out of you. And so I had to realize that my relationship with this wild spirit had to be very curated in a more natural way and not the typical mindset way. With my middle son, I have learned that um, intention on everything is so important, right? To put thought and intention behind it, to not do things carelessly.
Yeah.
And he has always led this life with curiosity and why. Why on everything. And why are you doing that? Why did you say that? And if you really even ask yourself that question all throughout the day, I think you're going to lead with a little bit more intention, because you see, like, I'm doing this because I want to nurture my body. I'm saying this because I want you to feel my love, right? And so if you think about the why behind it, you do behave a lot more intentionally. And then my youngest is about keeping the joy in all experiences,
Mhm.
right? No matter how small, how big, finding the joy and making sure you bring that to the top priority list of whatever you do, that everything, even the hard things, can have joy.
Wow. Those are all, like, they're just so meaningful, those messages. And I love the fact that you are also receiving them and listening, because
Mhm.
I think there's this idea that children belong to you, to the parent, or
Not for long.
right. And that they are, and when you stop and you really listen as you would any person, you can get those wisdom nuggets that you've shared, right? And
Absolutely.
see the world in a different perspective, and
Hmm.
just also allow yourself to have a cyclical relationship. It's not just about mom knows best and telling. It's like, yeah, I hear you. Oh boy, now I'm going to sit with that, and I'm going to explore it, and all the things that happen during that cycle of communication. So um
Well, I have a question for you, Sandra, because I think a lot of people think that they have to be a parent to have a relationship that is enlightening, engaging, and educational and inspiring from children.
Yeah.
And yes, people can work in the childcare industry and things like that, but people will always have interactions with children of all ages. If we're speaking from like 0 to 18, right? That's children, we'll say. And you can have an interaction in a restaurant, in a grocery store, at a friend's gathering. Has there been any lessons that have particularly stood out to you with any of your action or interactions with children over the years?
Absolutely. So with Michael's two children, whenever we are together, I love just just hearing them and seeing how they look at things in a different way. And sometimes I ask certain questions so that I can get a sense of like, huh, I didn't even know that or think about that. There have been times that I've brought up scenarios that I'm dealing with to see what their thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael's daughter has taught me to slow down. Like
Mm, true.
explains the importance of just, and it's not just lazy, it's a recharge. It is the essential energy. She can give a talk on, the importance of really protecting your energy and protecting your space. And Michael's son has just taught me just essentially how to live like fully, like just just being out there and just being open to the world and interacting with people without fear and just kind of
Hmm.
putting himself out there. And I think that,
Even before you have it all put together, I
yeah,
think, right?
exactly.
He's saying, I'm gonna explore. It doesn't matter how messy it is. It doesn't matter how it's not perfectly presented. I just want to get out there and
Yes.
not let the fear hold me back.
And that I always find, I love that because it teaches me like, well, look at this kid is not even, he's still kind of figuring out life, and he is open to thinking about something new or trying something new or putting himself out there. And I just want to do the same for myself now.
Hmm.
That I work in early childhood, and I have to tell you, the young ones are such teachers
Mm.
in, oh my goodness, look at this world and all the
Hmm.
beauty in it, and slowing down and looking at that tree or that leaf or the interactions with the squirrel that you just pass by on your day to day as
Hmm.
you're working on your grocery list or something. So I think that my life is rich with the teachings of children and of young children, especially. And I think it's always an opportunity for me to stop, to listen, and to absorb, because I don't
Yeah.
believe in the whole like, well, I'm 47 and I know best. And,
Hmm.
this is what you need to do. And it's just like, you have to find your own way. I'm a big believer in that. But I'm also a believer in, I'm not fully cooked either, right?
Yeah.
So let me see the lessons I can learn there.
Yeah. And I'm not a believer of the old mindset of, children should be heard and not seen, or seen and not heard. Excuse me, I said that wrong. But I do believe on the flip side that children should be engaged in conversation.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think children should be questioned about what they think about life, right? And like what they think about things, because they don't have enough time within their own experiences to develop critical thinking of how they would handle things and what they would do, because people don't engage in conversations with them about that. For example, like, oh wow, if a stranger, it doesn't have to be about stranger danger, but if someone was to hurt your feelings because they didn't include you in a game or whatever, like, how would you handle that? Right? Like, what goes through your mind? And, and that can just be from general conversation. You can incorporate them, is really, I guess, what I'm saying, with age appropriate conversation, just to let them have a voice and explore their thoughts and how they would do things. And you would be amazed at how much you can learn just through communication. And
Mhm.
so they should be heard, not just seen in that
Abso-
way.
Absolutely. And it's sometimes like when I get those answers, I'm like, it was simple as that. I,
Hmm.
I don't understand why I'm sitting here hemming and hawing over
Yeah.
something. And they're just like, but why don't you just ask them? Oh,
Yep.
well, yeah. Like, oh,
I
right.
have a super funny story about that. You know how like parents or adults will, you'll have a child with you and then you see another little child and you say, "Oh, that little girl looks nice. Why don't you go talk to her and see if she wants to play, if you guys want to be friends?" Think about the words that you say to children and take that for a second and say it to another adult. Okay.
Mhm.
So Charlotte and I went to a coffee shop. She was way younger. And they had like, couches and a little seated area.
Yeah.
And, kids don't talk very quiet either. And Charlotte's sitting next to me, and there's another lady sitting over there on the chair. And Charlotte's like, she goes, "Oh, Mom, do you know that lady?" Because, she thought we were all clearly sitting together.
Of course.
And I was like, "No, honey, I don't." She's like, "Hmm. Well, she looks nice. Maybe you should talk to her and be friends."
That's it.
And I'm all like, "Oh, no, girl. I am not trying to talk to some stranger and be friends." And I'm like, this is the crazy crap that we tell our kids. And then we won't take the same advice
Yep.
because it's so absurd as an adult. And I'm like, what other things do we teach and tell kids that we're not willing to do ourselves? Do we need to rearrange what we're saying, or do we need to rearrange our behaviors? I don't know.
Yes. No, I think that's such a great point because, you should never ask someone to do something that you wouldn't do. And
Mm-hmm.
it talks about your integrity and all of this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's definitely an opportunity to stop and reflect. And I also, you talked about speaking in age appropriate ways. We also have to
Mm.
be mindful of the fact that um, yes, we may have had those situations, happen to us over and over, or we've seen those situations. This might be their first time.
It
So
is. Yeah, it's their first time. It is, right? Like
everything,
they're
yeah,
new to this earth.
yes. So I think adults tend to forget that, right? And they just come down and just say, "Oh my God, are you an idiot? You didn't see why it's not okay to like touch the stove, and get angry or whatever the case may be." And
Mm-hmm.
we really have to take a moment of pause and say, well, this is the first time that they're, and anything from a little kid to a kid in college, it's the first time in
Yep.
college and experiencing that. So,
Uh-huh. I've had those moments and I would lose my mind because I'm thinking, we all do this around here. Why don't you just like see it and naturally absorb it and do it and all this other stuff? And then through conversation afterwards, because we always, follow things up with conversations, I'm realizing, shit, I was an asshole. Charlotte
yeah,
has never even been formally taught this or personally shown this side by side, right? I just expected her to absorb this from the environment because she's in it and to observe it. And she's supposed to see all of these things and just know it. And I'd have to go back and say, you know what? I think my response was really inappropriate and I am so sorry. And I'm sorry that I reacted that way. I was assuming and expecting you to know this already. And I will, be more mindful about, trying to lead with a little bit more of a teaching heart. And I'm sorry.
yeah,
And I think that's another thing people don't ever do is apologize to their kids because you can make mistakes and they deserve an apology too.
yes, yes, because we expect that from them, right? To take a moment and reflect and think, do you think about what you did? Well, Mom, did you think about what you did too?
Yep.
So
Yep.
think it's important to, and you're demonstrating such an important lesson through that. And I think
Yep.
sometimes that
Just be real to your kids, right?
absolutely. One final question as we close out this chapter. Um, how does healing, in your thoughts, extend beyond the individual and go to kind of the community and collective healing? And how can we do that with others? Because I think uh, people tend to see pain as very individual and just say, this is my pain that I have to carry. And as you know, as a part of our mission, we think that, this life is supposed to be lived in community. The fact that in this story, they were mourning as a community and wailing and crying and singing as a community. Um, the young mother was being helped by She Who Heals and other members of the community, right, during that very just transitional time. So thinking about healing and community, what does that bring up for you, or how are some ways that we can help support that in our present day?
I instantly hear healed people heal people.
Hmm.
And, you, through love of yourself and forgiveness of yourself and processing the emotions and things like that, become that safe space to help other people heal through their process. And even when you don't want to be, right? Like I kept talking about my crankiness and how closed off I am. And I want this community of people that, are a particular vision of mine, but I don't want to go out and network and
Yes.
connect with people. And then through a healing journey experience, we had a particular family that came to our bungalow to stay for a month or so that they could have a stopover on their healing journey. And naturally, I was able to understand where they were coming from and the experience that they were going through and provide, whatever resources or advice that I could. But I know other people have not been through that particular healing journey,
Yeah.
and they couldn't have spoke into them in the same way and maybe not provided the same kind of safe space for them. And I didn't really think about it. I just did, right? I just do whatever's in my heart or whatever I can do. And she would say so many times, like, you're like the big sister that I needed and the words that I needed to hear and all of these things, because her particular healing journey isn't for everybody, right? It's not something that everybody experiences.
Sure.
But if I did not do that work within myself, how could I have shown up for this community that was planted right in front of me? So,
Absolutely. Yeah, it starts with the self, as we talked
mhm,
about before. And I think uh, our invitations to our listeners is to really start building that community, because there are
mhm,
people that you can kind of bring together and have those exchanges where you talk about some of those heavier topics, or you're dealing through some of those transitions,
yep,
and it just gives that, that light to really supporting one another, because we are all shifting through things, we are all dealing with things. And sometimes it's just a listening ear, and sometimes it's doing a shift activation
yeah,
together, where you're like, okay, let's do this, let's talk about this, because in this shift activation we're going to talk about death. And
yeah,
that's a big and scary topic, but doing it with others that they can hold your hand, and when you have that moment of panic or fear, they can really just be there for you. And it also takes away the stigma of
yeah,
this unknown, because we haven't experienced it. So,
mhm,
who's to say it's this overwhelming negative space. So
mhm.
so let's segue into that. Let's segue into our shift activations, which is
Okay.
always an opportunity for us to deep dive into the topic that we talked about. And as I said, I definitely think that I want to invite the conversation around death, life and death together in this shift activation. So you can always journal about it, and kind of think about what would you like, at your end of life, or, what your thoughts are about death. But the creative in me thought, okay, let's figure out a different way to explore that. So we're going to create a mandala. And before we talk
Ooh.
about the activation, let's read what a mandala is. So a mandala is a geometric pattern or design that represents the universe, wholeness, and spiritual unity. So it originates from Sanskrit. The word mandala means circle, and has been used in various spiritual traditions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and it's used for meditation, for ritual, and also for self reflection. So, in this activity, we're going to think about life and death mandala, right? And when you look at a, if you've ever seen a mandala, it's like a small core, and then it kind of opens up. So, you're going to take a piece of paper, and you're going to draw a circle in the center of your paper. And in that circle, you're going to write or draw what life and death means to you personally. And this could be symbols, this could be words or images, it could be representations of growth, whatever it is for you. And I think this is the first layer of really exploring a topic that's not really on the forefront. So let your imagination, your fears, all of those things kind of bubble up. Then from the center, kind of growing out, I want you to represent different stages of life and death. And obviously, you know your stages of life. With stages of death, it's something that you need to explore, right? And think about.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be everything from the minute, you are declared dead all the way through, what the next life is going to be for you, if that's something that you believe in. So it just depends on what that looks like. Um, so once again, you should add symbols that are important to you. So light, water, trees, anything that's meaningful within or around your mandala. Also think about color. We talked about the significance of color in many of our chats here. So think about how color is represented in that mandala to support how you're feeling. And then also when you think about it, think about how you can incorporate death as a part of your healing and your growth as well. Because once again, depending on how you feel about death, it for many it's not the finalization of your soul's journey.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that look like next? So after you've kind of created this visual representation of life and death, and you created your mandala and you have your colors and your images and all of that, write about this experience. So maybe explain some of the imagery or talk about how you felt when you created this. Does it take away the stigma of death? Does it enhance it more? Because maybe you need to sit with it more. And also think about the cyclical nature of life and see how that's brought into the experience of creating that mandala.
Hmm.
Uh, any thoughts or questions about that?
I just how do you even come up with this stuff? It's so mandalas are like my thing. Like I have them all throughout my house. Like I made special like furniture pieces out of them custom with, special ways to do mandalas into it. That's not a stencil or anything like that because there's something that's so like calling to me for it. And it's like it's just busted open a whole new depth of the meaning of them and the connection I have with them in a different way. And I am so golly, like I'm like, oh, I want to have another whole weekend of just shift activation to work on this because it's amazing. You're amazing.
Well, thank you. It's yeah, I haven't done I haven't I love the idea of the mandala, and now I feel like I'm going to put this really personal experience and spin on it. And I'm also, how I feel about color. I'm also like really interested on what colors will correspond with me and my feeling as I
Yes.
work through this. And I feel like some of it is not planned and some of it will just be spontaneous of like I need more of the yellow and I need more of the blue and the clarity or whatever it is that is calling. And I
Hmm.
just picture like a huge beautiful piece, right? With all the colors and
Well, I
back.
was gonna say I seen in my mind because you can get canvases of all sizes at Michaels or Hobby Lobby sizes, shapes, almost drawing out, the shapes and the designs and all the things, and in the designs, writing what you're saying, right? You're writing those symbols, or making those symbols, you're writing those words, those names, those things, and then you go back and you put color to that section with that name that evokes a certain thing or whatever. Like I just see the huge art piece of it.
I do too. Like I just see lots of like visual images kind of in the core and then the images changing as it goes out and then
Mm-hmm.
superimposing on that the mandala and then
Mm-hmm.
seeing the color with gold flake kind of all throughout. I just Girl, this is like totally up my alley. This is why, I as well can sit for like a week and do these things. Um, these shift activations. And I think that it also will help me because I don't sit around and think about death either, or my personal, so I think this is going to be a big one for me and I'm excited to jump into it.
All I think about for death is I hope I go in a really awesome way.
Well, you should write that down somewhere. And what are some of
And
the,
I will. I
yes,
will. But
yes.
I see you, especially with all of your shift activations, you are totally a guardian of the healing arts.
Mm, I love that. I have to
You
write
are.
that
That should be your title.
down.
Guardian of the healing arts, because you protect these healing processes and explore them fully and bring them to so many people. And it's if people actually do the shift activations and they do the work and they give themselves that time and space,
Oh.
I'm telling you, it'll change your life. It will change your life.
I need to have a like a course, like a college course on the healing arts because I feel like this is one of those toolboxes for life. And as the younger you acquire it, imagine, your child who's in university or your child who's just emerging and having that ability to learn this and embrace it early on to take it with them on their life's journey is just
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Another sacred, wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for bringing all the wisdom and your light, Jennifer, to this call and to this chat. We are closing the chapter on She Who Heals, and I think that my goal is to continue to just think about how all the things around us, how nature can help us with our healing, how nature is our pharmacy, and how we should respect all cycles of life. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, listeners, for joining. And until the next full moon, keep shifting and growing. And above all, keep that heart open for healing. Thanks, everyone.
Mm-hmm.